welcome to you all at home.
You've still got a chance to win this race, haven't you?
Just drive. I wanna be the only one to make it through the
It's been a difficult few years for McLaren-Honda in Formula 1 lately, and it seems like it was just yesterday that we were talking about their 2012 Formula 1 season, and 2012 was the last really great McLaren year. They nearly won the Drivers' Championship, well, maybe nearly. I mean, when I say nearly, I mean Lewis Hamilton was probably robbed of at least a chance at the title, given the fact he lost about 75 points from race-winning positions that year. But the car was very, very fast in 2012, arguably the fastest car in the field, but they were often plagued by their reliability problems, and hence the reason why they missed out on second in the championship constructors-wise, and Hamilton was probably robbed of at least a shot at the driver's title, which was so hotly contested between Vettel and Alonso. The thing with them is they moved on to 2013 next year, and they dramatically changed the car around. And in 2013, I believe they changed the suspension layout of their car, and for some reason it made the car so much slower. It was one of the biggest talking points of the season, was that McLaren had turned from a top-tier runner to a midfield team. 2013 was McLaren's worst year for many, many years. Jenson Button was still there, but obviously they lost Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton had gone to Mercedes. Clearly, Hamilton thought the grass was greener on the other side. Turns out he was right. And they brought in Sergio Perez, and Sergio Perez wasn't that great as a rookie, and then he got the chop. Well, maybe not a rookie, but as a rookie for the team, and he only lasted the 1 year because they basically felt like McLaren had got the itch over Kevin Magnussen. And 2014 was kind of more of the same, really. They were a little bit better, and they did get stronger towards the end of the season in 2014, but they were never... you never really expect them to be challenging a dominant Mercedes, Red Bull, who were the second best team, and Williams, who were third, and Alonso was dragging that Ferrari to get in the mix as well. So 2012 to 2014, it's been a very rough time for McLaren, and they changed around last season for Honda, and a lot of people were confident on Honda, and a brand new engine manufacturer come back. A lot of people were excited to see Honda return, and a lot of them were looking to McLaren to see if they could get in the way, pardon me. And Ron Dennis was very confident when talking about Honda. I remember him at the Japanese Grand Prix last year, obviously Honda's home circuit. They were saying, oh yes, well the power unit is coming along fantastic. It's going to have lots of power. And then at the end of the season, they made the big announcement that they'd stolen Peter Perdomo, who was kind of billed as Adrian Newey's big apprentice to this team, learning from Adrian Newey and bringing some of Red Bull's aero over to McLaren. And it still hasn't worked out. I mean, right from the start in testing, they looked like their team was struggling. They were looking very mediocre. But Ron Dennis assured people that, one, they were going to change the livery around, so yay, fan support and whatnot, fan service to keep the fans happy and distract them from the real problem, what was the engine was not working at all. They only got about half their planned pre-season testing done, which was unfortunate, and on top of that, their aero wasn't that great either, and their chassis wasn't that great, and that was the one thing Ron Dennis was vouching on. He was going out there talking about the fact that they felt that, oh yeah, the engine isn't quite there yet, the power unit isn't quite there yet, but the chassis and the aero is great, so once we get the engine going, we'll be flying up the field. No, not really. And McLaren look even worse this year than what they were, and I know a lot of people are saying, well, they just got to take the pain more than anything else, of the short-term pain of switching engine suppliers, and obviously hoping you get better in the long run, but things haven't really changed for McLaren. If anything, they've gotten even worse, because towards the end of last season, Jenson Button was getting in the top 5. He was knocking on the door of podiums, and it looked like McLaren had really made some progress. They always tend to get stronger towards the end of a season, McLaren's. They're one of the best for in-season development, so for them to now be in a situation where they had another double DNF in Canada. They've got the worst finishing rate of any team in the field at the moment. I think they've retired over half the cars they've entered so far this season, either have retired or did not even start, like Kevin Magnussen filling in for Fernando Alonso after he took that concussion during testing. Obviously his engine blew up before they even got to the grid, and it's a difficult one to really weigh up for McLaren-Honda, because I get the logic behind it. Fernando Alonso was the big marquee switch. Alonso coming back to McLaren for the first time in 8 years, first time since 2007, and he's always been the first guy to defend his move from Ferrari, and people are obviously going to ask about this given the fact that Ferrari have bounced back with Sebastian Vettel under the helm this year and look like they're the closest thing we're going to get to a Mercedes challenge this season. And Fernando Alonso is saying, well, if they finish in second, it doesn't really matter. Well, given they finished in fourth last season, yeah, it bloody well does matter. The team are delighted with how things are going. Ferrari are over the moon with how things are going, and Vettel's having a breakout season again, another fantastic season so far. I think that's pretty undisputed. I think he silenced a lot of his critics after the 2014 season he had. And Alonso is saying, well, Alonso does make a good point where he says you have to mix things up in order to win. And they were powered by Mercedes, and they're essentially a customer team, because they're not a factory team. Mercedes have their own factory team, and they weren't even the best of the Mercedes-powered customer teams, because Williams were doing better than them last year, and they're still doing better than them now. Williams are still the top customer team in Formula 1. So it's a situation where, yeah, I get what Alonso's saying. You're never going to win when you're the third on the food chain under Mercedes power, but how long are you going to sit around and wait and hope Honda magically come up with a solution? These guys have been developing this hybrid power unit since 2012. So when we all knew the regulation changes were going to happen in 2014. So Honda all of a sudden making this engine, they're not going to get to the same stage where Mercedes, Ferrari, and even Renault are at the moment. And Renault are struggling in its own right, when we need them to be up there for the sport to be more competitive. Because like I showed last episode with that championship table, it is so predictable right now. The teams are running almost literally in a Noah's Ark formation, with only Nasser and Maldonado breaking the food chain. Swap them around, it's a Noah's Ark championship. The team's going around the corner 2x2, hurrah. And McLaren, it's not entirely there. It's not entirely the engine supplier's fault either. I don't think the driver lineup changes have helped. I mean, Jenson Button's been the one consistent in that team since 2010. And this season, 2015, is the fourth consecutive year McLaren's had a different driver lineup. Button's been consistent, but you've also got... 2012 you had Button and Hamilton, 2013 you had Button and Perez, 2014 you had Button and Magnussen, and now you've got Button and Alonso. And Alonso is not happy about the situation, given he called his team a bunch of amateurs on the team radio over the week. And there's a lot... It's a mess right now. There's no other way of describing it. It's a mess. The power unit isn't producing. The aero in the chassis has shown no sign of being a top-tier runner. Because, hell, Red Bull last year was proof that even if you have a shitty power unit, if your aero and chassis is great, you can still challenge. You can still be up there in the top 5 or 6, despite the fact they were powered by Renault last year. So, for that to be a thing, I've seen nothing to suggest that the aero, the chassis, or the power on that car is anything close to being competitive at the moment. The 4 points they got in Monaco was probably flattering more than anything else. And it's going to get worse for McLaren, because they're in quite a nasty... they're quite a nasty situation right now, given that the fact that, their drivers are younger than a lot of people. It's like they have a Red Bull level driver academy, but they haven't got the numbers to back it up. They don't have the luxury of a second team like Red Bull do. Stoffel Van Dorn should be in Formula 1 right now. He's dominating the GP2 season. He's more than F1 ready, quite frankly. He should have been ready last season, given the fact the only two people that beat him was Jolyon Palmer and Felipe Nasr, who had both done 4 years in GP2 prior, while Stoffel was a class rookie. Stoffel's going to run away with this championship. He's clearly a different mustard to the rest of the field in GP2. he's not going to have a seat to go to. They're not going to drop Button or Alonso for Stoffel all of a sudden. And even so, because of the champion rule in GP2, Stoffel's going to be without a job next year. They've still got Kevin Magnussen, who, despite the fact his rookie season wasn't that great, I don't think Kevin Magnussen warranted dropping either, quite frankly. So it's a head jam. They've still got Nick de Vries back there as well, who's doing a solid job in Formula Renault 3.5 as well. So they have drivers, good drivers, underneath them, and they've only got 2 seats to play with. I'm glad Ron Dennis finally acknowledged the fact that there might be a loan offer for Stoffel somewhere in Formula 1, because I think a team would take him if McLaren would flip the bill in terms of sponsorships and whatnot. If they were able to cut a deal with a team, I'm pretty sure most teams would be very happy to take a 20-year-old Stoffel Van Dorn on, a very exciting prospect in Formula 1 for the future. Probably the most exciting prospect for Formula 1 we've seen maybe since Nico Hülkenberg and Lewis Hamilton back in 2007 and 2009. So it's a bit of a head jam at the moment about what's going on at McLaren, and there's no easy answer to really fix it more than anything else. So, hey, have you got any ideas? Because I certainly don't, because I think McLaren are going to be struggling for a little while yet. Probably at least another year, because playing engine catch-up, given where Mercedes are at right now, and given that Ferrari have improved so dramatically this season, it doesn't bode well when even Renault are making better engines than you. In the meantime, though, I'd love to hear your suggestions on the video, as well as what you guys think of the current situation more than anything else. Until next time, I've been Harris101. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you guys next time. Sayonara.